We're going to learn how to take a number that is written in scientific notation and then convert it into standard notation. Now, the good news is doing this is mostly just a matter of adding some zeros onto the end, because in each case we're going to be multiplying by 10. And when you multiply something by 10, what you're doing is really just taking the decimal point and moving it over to the right. And whenever you run out of places to move it, you just start adding zeros. So our first example here says to write 3.5 times 10 to the power of 6 in standard notation. So we start off with our 3.5, and times 10 to the 6th means multiply it by 10 6 times. So if we took 3.5 and we multiply it by 10 just one time, if we just did 3.5 times 10 and that was it, we'd get 35. You can verify this on a calculator. 3.5 times 10 is 35. Mathematically, what we did was we just took that decimal point in between the 3 and the 5 and we just slid it over one time. That is the effect of multiplying by 10. So that's multiplying by 10 one time. We got 35. But we don't want to multiply by 10 one time. 10 to the 6th power means multiply by 10 6 times. So we want to multiply by 10 a second time. 350 times 10, and in fact, any number that is not a decimal multiplied by 10 has the effect of just adding a zero onto the end of the number. So 35 times 10 is just going to be 350. So now we've multiplied by 10 two times. We still need to do 6 times total for 10 to the 6th. So now let's take 350 and multiply by 10 for the third time. And of course, now we're just going to add another zero onto the end and get 3,500. Hopefully you're thinking to yourself, there's got to be a faster way to do this than multiplying by 10 6 different times, and indeed there is. Once we get to the end of the number where we do not have a decimal point anymore, which happened for us right here in this step, after we multiplied by 10 one time, the decimal point was no longer in the middle of our number, it was on the end of our number. We had 35. After that, it's just a matter of adding zeros to the end. So multiplying by 10 one time got the decimal point on the end. And now every additional time that we multiply by 10, all we're doing is adding a zero onto the end. So to get from here to here, we multiplied by 10 once. This is multiply by 10 one time to get to 35. I now need to take 35 and multiply by 10 5 more times, which means I'm going to take 35 and just add 5 zeros onto the end of it. So 35 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros onto the end. And now I'll go back and put in commas so it's a little easier to read. And the number we come up with is 3,500,000. So I don't actually need to multiply by 10 separately 6 different times. I just multiply by 10 until I get to the end of the number, and then I add zeros for however many tens I have left. Let's take a look at an example where multiplying by 10 once doesn't get me to the end of the number. This is 7.034 times 10 to the 9th power. So take just a minute and ask yourself, how many times do I need to multiply by 10 to get to the end of this number? In other words, to move the decimal from after the 7 to after the 4, how many times will I multiply by 10? The answer is 3. I need to move the decimal 1, 2, 3 times to get to the end there. So if I take 7.034 and I multiply by 10 to the 3rd power, in other words, if I multiply by 10 3 times, I get 7,034. And now the decimal is at the end of the number instead of right in the middle of it. But that's only multiplying by 10 3 times. The problem says multiply by 10 to the 9th power. So I need to multiply by 10 9 times, and I've only multiplied by 10 3 times. So I need to multiply by 10 an additional 6 times. Okay, multiplying by 10 3 times got the decimal to the end of the number. I need to multiply by 10 6 more times now to get to a total of 9. So I'm going to take my 7,034 and just add 6 zeros onto the end. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's my 6 zeros. I'll put in the commas just to make the number easier to read. And my final answer is 7,034,000,000. That is quite a large number. And that's 7.034 times 10 to the ninth power. Okay, let's do another example here. Let's see if we can do this all in one step. I'm multiplying by 10 5 times. When I look at 2.36, I can see that I'm going to need to move the decimal 2 times to get to the end of the number. So I'm going to need to go 1, 2 times to get to the end of the number. That'll give me 236. But I need to multiply by 10 5 times, 10 to the 5th. So 2 times gets me to the end of the number, and then I need 3 more times to get to my total of 5. So I'm going to add 1, 2, 3 more zeros onto the end for 236,000. Okay. The mass of one roosting colony of monarch butterflies. Oh, those are my favorite. I love monarch butterflies. One roosting colony of monarch butterflies in Mexico was estimated at 5 times 10 to the 6th grams. What is this mass in standard notation? So this one, I don't have to move a decimal at all because the number 5 already has the decimal point at the end of the number. There's not a decimal in the number anywhere. So 5 times 10 to the 6th power just means take a 5 and add 6 zeros. So there's our 5, and we add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. We'll go back and add in our commas. Now we have a unit here, so let's make sure we have a unit in our answer. And our answer is going to be 5 million grams because 5 times 10 to the 6th is a 5 with 6 zeros, which is 5 million.